Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to today's art stream. Sorry, a tiny bit late there. Photoshop decided to be massively helpful and crash just before I was about to get started, so sorry about that. Thankfully didn't lose too much. I had roughed out the paintwork for this pauldron when I crashed, and I'm very sad that I lost that because I was actually looking forward to showing you folks a bit of how I paint armor. So we'll see if we get onto that later in the video. Hold my D20. Hey there, welcome to chat. For now, we're going to work on finishing this chap's portrait, the hair, the beard, all that lovely stuff. They are a very cool Dwarven Fighter, I believe. And yeah, we're just going to see how much we can get through today. Don't forget to save virally. Well, I haven't even really started yet today, so there's nothing to save. Hi, Cyber Spectre and Rebel, thank you so much for the subscription. Honestly, it makes a massive difference. And oh my goodness, suddenly I just realised it's October. Last time I streamed was September. Welcome to Spooky Month. I'll try and work on some cool spoopy characters this month. Probably means lots of tieflings. But for now, let's work on this dwarven fellow. So as you can see, I kind of did the nose last night. There's a few more tweaks I need to add to it. And we're just going to kind of carry on down. Got the lips to do next. And yeah, let's just kind of get stuck in. I've already got, these are the palettes I've been using. That's for hair. These are for lips. I'm actually going to move this down here because it's no good to anyone up there. Whoops. Wrong layer. Boink. Let's put that there. Nice. Okay, so with lips, or should I do nose first? Let's just do a few more tweaks on the nose, I think. The line art came out quite bold in this one, so I'm also going to be just gently pushing back some of the line art. And again, adding a little bit of side light there under the nose, which just kind of brings it out a bit. Thank you so much, Cyber Spectre, and Amazing Barrel. Hello and welcome to the stream. I hope you enjoy yourself. So yeah, we're just gonna push back that line art by adding a bit of side light there. And in places, we're gonna turn that in a little bit. Alright, so let's get stuck in with these lips. So we've already got this layer for the nose. We're gonna start using that. Let's think. I'm just gonna mess with my palette layer a little bit, just see how close those are. Those are pretty close. So let's go for something a little in between. That'll work. And then, as per usual, I'm just going to start by filling in the top lip. Now these are going to be pretty dark because they're shadowed by the moustache and the rest of the facial hair, which will be on its own separate layer soon. Hi Righteous Gambit, welcome to chat. Just going to pull up some reference images for this one. Is that the correct one? No, it is not. There we go. We'll pull up that one and my other one, which is there. Lovely, okay. Now I have everything I need to just get stuck in. Awesome. So, with that top lip popped in, yeah, chocolate lipstick right now, we need to do the bottom lip, which is going to be substantially lighter than the top lip. And yes, it is going to look a bit like lipstick until we've worked into these a bit. But he has excellent style. Thank you so much, Uni24, for following. Awesome. So this means we can also just add a little bit more dark shading in places we need to, such as here. And there'll be a little bit of dark shadow just here also. And there will be equally... Oh, I just realised this needs a bit of blending around here, doesn't it? Let's do that quickly. Let's just soften that out a bit. There we go. And then we've got a bit of light coming through here above the lip. Like so. Nice. Yeah, I think more dwarves should wear chocolate lipstick. I think you're absolutely right there. Okay. And we are going to need to add some of more of the slightly desaturated side light down here. Fantastic. Okay, now for proper lip stuff. We're going to take that really dark colour that we already identified, and we are going to push it even darker, just for a few areas. So just running along where the lips kind of come together, and then at the corner of the top lip it gets a bit darker. Hey Morville, good evening! Lovely to have you in chat. And next up we are going to apply this dark colour to the bottom lip. We're going to shade that where it requires it. So again, coming down from the corner of the mouth on this right hand side, we get a little bit of shadow just sneaking in there. Just coming underneath as well. I'm going to have some there. Which is going to match up with some of the shadow, which almost joins up with the lip there. This will probably have a bit more detail in it once we've put in the facial hair. And this little bit of light here is actually slightly inaccurate. That needs to come a little bit further up. Like so. Yeah, you can kind of see how that's coming together. Alright, so carrying on with the, what should we go with next? I think what we'll do is we'll do a bit more on the top lip because we need to add some light on this side. And I might just push it a little bit towards the grey because it's a little bit more desaturated than I was giving it credit for. There. And then I'm just going to push it back a wee bit. Like so, and then let a bit of that carry on over the top, like so, and that starts to kind of add a bit more dimension to these lips going on. Cool. Oh, I'm sorry, Morville. I hope that I'll be able to cheer you up a bit later next week when you get your progress piece. Just gonna add this light coming in here from this side. Needs to be a little bit more subtle than this, so we'll take it back a bit. Like so. And there we go, that's now a bit more gentle, which is great, that's what we wanted. So, hang on, there we go. Right, so next up we're going to go back up to the overlines layer, which I haven't actually named yet, so let's name that now. Oh no, not the FOMO, I totally know that feeling. I used to get that a lot with games that I wasn't involved in, but my friends were. Add a bit of extra light there. And because we want to do the same thing down here with the desaturated light, like so. And then we can go in with a smaller brush, I think a 6 will do, and just erase some of this line art by painting over it when Photoshop doesn't lag. In fact, let's save right now so we don't lose what we were doing. And then doing the same on the other side, just minimizing the line art, like so. Just bring that side a little higher, and then take this light somewhat over the top. Alright, fantastic. And then what we can do is we do the same on the bottom, probably with this nice dark brown. Maybe it doesn't even need to be quite that dark. Thank you so much to Birdie Blake for following. I hope you enjoy the stream. Right, and with that we have some lips. I might just do a tiny bit more detail here and there to again, this line art is very heavy, and we really want to tone that right down. And then on the other side. Awesome. Okay, so let's save there. Hi, Captain Zotrope. Welcome to chat. Okay, what next? I think at this point, usually I will tackle the eyes, so I think that's what we'll go for. We're going to, first of all, merge down the skin and the nose back down onto the skin layer, so we've got those saved. And make a new layer. Actually, no, not yet. We've got some more detail we need to do on the eyes first. So let's do that, shall we? We also just want to soften some of those lines a little bit because they're a little bit too strong right now. And add some of this more reddish hue coming into the nostril. Thank you so much, Captain Zotrope. Slightly different character today. Okay, so we're going to need some more of that nice dark colour. I quite like what we've got going around the nose, so we're going to borrow from that. Also, the reddishness of it's quite nice. And we're going to use that up top in the eyes and these little shadows. Just to give them a little bit more kind of shape. And in the darker corners of these eyes as well. Going to include that. It's good to take this opportunity to make sure that whole area where I want it is nice and dark. Thank you so much, Thiago Diogo. I hope I said that right. I'm really sorry if I didn't, for following, and also to Julian Techness. Sorry I missed you earlier. Oh, thank you so much, Marvel. I'm really looking forward to starting on it, as the character sounds absolutely delightful. So I will message you about that as soon as I make some progress next week. That's going to be really good fun. Alright, let's have a think. We need to add some light to the upper eyelids. I think we're going to go back to the overlines layer for that. We don't want it to be too heavy. So, I'm trying to think what tone to go for here. It doesn't want to be quite as pink as the area around the nose, but we don't want it to be quite as yellow as some of the area around the eyes. So we're going to go for a bit of a mix between the two, I think. I'm just going to really gently pop that on there to lighten up the upper eyelid. We'll do the same on the other side. Like so. Okay. I think I still want some really nice, rich, dark colours in here. So we're gonna just add a bit more here. It's really dark crease in the eye. And probably on the other side as well. Make it nice and dramatic. And then we're going to add a tiny bit of light that's being caught by that lower lid. So we're going to go really down to a small brush. And I'm just going to start with that. Take the kind of new colour I've made. Also use this to tone down how heavy that eyelid line art is. Whoops. Come on, Photoshop. Work with me. Work with me, baby. Nice. And I'm looking at the reference and I'm seeing that I need a little bit more shadow actually. Coming out from this part of the eye here. And I can actually do this. Let's do this on the base layer, I think. We should have a little bit more there. And then as always, as I'm sure everyone's very familiar with by now, we're just going to blend that in gently with the base colour and the highlights we've got going on around it. Alright, fantastic, I like that. Cool. I'm actually tempted to add a little more of this nice sweet light highlight colour around the eye on the other side. Back to the overlines layer, I think. And definitely a smaller brush, down to a 6 at most. Like so. And this kind of also helps show where that bottom eyelid is a little bit. Alright, yeah, that's definitely nice. I like that. Oh, why is this overlapping a bit? Let's just sort my windows out. That's better. Yeah, Photoshop loves its tiny tantrums, so I try and save often. Alright, Wes, thank you so much. Yeah, value is a really tough skill to learn. It kind of just, it comes after enough painting and enough looking at photography references and stuff. It's difficult to learn it intentionally is what I found. I kind of had to pick up a lot of skills kind of by accident, just by emulating stuff. Cool. What next? What next? What next? That's, I know what's next actually. Once again with the slightly lighter colour. There's a little bit of light just reflecting on the inner kind of corner of the flesh that comes up. That bit of the eye there. So we'll pop that in and then we will merge it back into our base. Also, the music got really dramatic for this, so thanks. Alright, nice, that'll do there. And just looking for any other last things. I think the last thing I want to work on is eyelashes. So we're going to select an incredibly dark colour, almost black, and make sure we're on no more than a 4. It should work just fine for what we're trying to do. And then we can really reinforce this chap's eyeliner. And coming down here, there's a little bit there. And of course, on the other side, there's going to be a bit more. Maybe that's a bit too much. Oops, my eraser is still way too big. There we go. Let's just tone that down. Nice. Okay, so I think we're ready to paint the actual eye itself. So we make a new layer above the skin. I'm going to rename that eye, rather unimaginatively. And yes, the guy liner. Where did I? Oh, I did make that. Okay. So we're going to start with this as the base tone for the eye. Now these eyes are quite in shadow, so I'm not going to make them quite as light as I often do. Is it the same on the other side? It's quite hard to tell because it's very similar to the colour underneath, how opaque it is. But we will lock the alpha channel just the same. And I'm just going to observe some of my reference for this. Slightly lighter, almost greenish tone coming in. And then the really bright stuff is coming in the front here. And then we can blend that in, going back down to a smaller brush. And we can also take that base tone that we started with and use that to put some shadow back in the corners and stuff like that. Okay, I'm just going to double check from reference what colour this chap's eyes are. I think they're kind of a brown. Nope, his eyes are blue. Good thing I checked. Right, reference is gone. Let me pull that back up. There we go. In this round of commissions, what's the tiefling ratio? Actually, I mean, the tieflings were quite popular. I have a lot of other things too. Whoops, I'm on Photoshop. There we go. Yeah, there's an interesting mix this time. I do have a lot of tieflings. One of them belongs to wonderful Morville, who I'll be working on next week. But yeah, it's quite a nice mix. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I'm really bad, so I have a terrible memory, which is potentially due to ADHD related stuff. So I'm awful at remembering things when I haven't got it right in front of me. But I'm pretty sure there's a healthy number of tieflings in this go round. Alright, cool. That's fine with that. So we're actually going to stick on this layer, but we're going to go to the blue side of the spectrum to create our pupils. Because when we do that, we're also just going to add like a darkened top side, which is going to help kind of the pupils phase back into the eye. Oh, thank you so much, Carly Freya. Tieflings are wonderful. To Thea, Thiago Diogo, my current commissions are closed right now. I just did a big round of commissions on various social medias, but there will be some slots opening up again, most likely in a few months, the flat shaded portraits, because I tend to take those more frequently because they fit around the other commission styles quite nicely. Just gonna gently start adding light on the side where the light is coming in. Like so. These eyes are very deep blue, so we're not going to be getting too bright with them. But then I'm going to jump up to that nice saturated colour. I'm going to go down to all the way to a 3. Add a nice bright ring around the centre of the pupil. And the little kind of spidery bits that come out from there. And I'm also going to use it to add a little kind of halo around the outside. And then we can add a bit of extra light on the side, which is catching light, like so. And then we'll just do the same on the other side. Alright, and with that done, we're gonna make a new layer. Oh, I did that on the palette layer, never mind. We're gonna call it Shinies, not Heinies, wrong word, Shinies. And this is where I add the glints on metal, but also the glints on eyes. And these can often add quite a nice bit of a dimension to the face. Alright, and we have some nice baby blue eyes. The Shinies layer is very important. Right, I think what we'll do next is we'll do eyebrows, and then we'll work through do the ear and get the neck finished, and then we can move on to this chap's hair. Gonna have a drink first. It's very important to stay hydrated. Oh, Morville. Yeah, I know what you mean. When I commission people, I'm the same. Alright, going back down to the skin layer. We're gonna start with this nice rich kind of brown. This chap has kind of dirty blonde hair. It's very kind of Vikings-esque. And we're just going to use this colour to paint directly in these eyebrows. Nice big bushy dwarven eyebrows. Might make the brush a little smaller and turn off the alpha lock just to put in this side. And this allows me to kind of see that I need to remove a little bit of these overlines, like so. But I'm actually going to stay on this layer, I think, for highlighting these eyebrows. So we're going to jump up to this nice kind of gold. And I think the 6 can stay as the brush size. And then I'm just going to add some nice highlights to these bushy eyebrows. Like so. Maybe a little bit, actually not quite so saturated. And then extra highlights. Alright, we have some nice bushy brows. Let's save that. Do I ever commission people? Do you ever? Oh yeah, I've commissioned a few people. Let me think. Who's one of my favorite artists? Let's share some other artists' work just quickly. Someone who does absolutely gorgeous work, and I have commissioned in the past, so definitely check out their stuff, is Kyoto's Party on Twitter. They are wonderful and just lovely to work with, and I love the style of their art. It's really gorgeous, so I have commissioned them in the past. Oh, Birdie Blake, that's very kind. It's funny actually. I really love seeing my characters in the styles of other artists. So it's something I try to do when I can save up enough to do it. It's really good fun. I'd love to do it more often, but you know how it is, the freelance gig. Right, for the ear we're going to start off with a really dark colour for that interior, and then, oops, we are not have the thing on anymore. So let's just remember to turn that back on. We're just going to add the other shadows which are naturally going to occur. Yeah, it's just really nice to kind of see what your own characters look like in other styles. I love it. And we're going to take the shadows, just following the shape of the ear. Ears are another weird thing, right? Everyone's ears are slightly different, so honestly, no one's going to care if you don't get the structure of the ear 100% down. As long as you have the basic ear shape, you're good. My art teachers are probably pulling their hair out if they could hear me say that, but sometimes you have to kind of work out what you want to focus on at any one given time and not get bogged down in the details of everything else. Otherwise, you'll be there forever and you'll never like your own work, and it's really tough otherwise. Find joy in the things that you're really good at. And once you're happy with those, then you can move on to perfecting ears if that's what you want to do. Everyone looks like, yes, that would be easier, but I don't think I'd have the manual dexterity in my fingers as a full guy to be able to actually paint in the first place. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. Let's just drop down a brush size, I think. What? There we go. Thank you so much to Empty Spiral Nat and Tyler J. Gilmore for following. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Let's add some highlights to these ears now. Get the light kind of bouncing off them. Alright, that is in fact an ear. So now we can look at the neck. Come back, my reference material. I didn't say you could leave. Going back down to the skin, we're going to start with a nice heavy shadow for underneath the chin area. I love that whoever does the Spool Guys social media, they crack me up. Alright, I quite like that graduation of colour, so now we're just going to blend it in so it's nice and smooth. Thank you so much, Les F for subscribing. As always, you're wonderful and I'm incredibly grateful for it. Oh, in other slightly exciting news, I'm hoping to get the YouTube page for my artwork launched this afternoon. Probably after my stream, I'll be looking at finalizing the stream from Wednesday. I should be finishing that one off uploading. But yes, that should be done today. So if you want to check out VODs and stuff, that's going to be the place to find them. Okay, so we've actually done pretty well with the skin. We've got the lips, nose, eyes, neck all down. So I think it's time we tackle the beard and the hair. We'll start with hair because I find that marginally easier. Alright, so let's make a new layer underneath. We're going to call it, unsurprisingly, hair. And we are going to, once similar to the eyebrows, we're going to start with this nice dark brown. And to start with, we're just going to slap all that down. It's a nice base colour. And then, of course, as per usual, we'll have to drop down to a smaller brush size just to fill in the edges. It's basically painting by numbers at this point. I used to love painting by numbers when I was a little kid. Righteous Gambit, yes. Beards are weird. I actually find beards quite tough to paint. The texture is so much more coarse and different, I find, to hair texture. It's kind of a different kettle of fish to learn how to do well. I'm still not kind of there yet totally with beards, but I'm getting there. And we just got a little flick. Whoop, Photoshop lagging for me there, how nice of it. Okay, and then we'll fill in these kind of stray bits of hair coming out. Also, now is probably a good time to say there will be no streams next week, purely because I'm on holiday. I'm going for a short break at Center Parcs, which is a 40-minute drive from where I live. So yay for me. It's going to be my first holiday of this year, so that's great. But yes, it will mean there won't be any streams. However, YouTube should be up and running by then. So today's video, as well as Wednesday's, should be up on YouTube by then. Hopefully, maybe, we'll see. I'm still getting to grips with how YouTube works. Let's just sharpen up that line a bit. There we go. Oh my goodness, the weather here right now is absolutely abysmal. The rain and wind. I think we've got a storm. I can't remember what the name of this storm is, but it's battering the flat that I live in. And it's probably going to rain next week, but that's okay. We're probably mostly going to stay in our villa and play board games, to be honest. I finally got myself a copy of a board game called The King's Dilemma, which I don't know if any of you have heard of. It won a load of awards, I think, this year, and is on a lot of kind of Game of the Year lists. I've been trying to pick up a copy for ages, but because Shut Up and Sit Down and stuff did some reviews of it, it's incredibly out of stock everywhere until last week, so I picked up a copy. I'm so excited to play it. It's like weirdly mixed between social deduction, Game of Thrones level roleplay, and kind of political conniving. Very Game of Thronesy. Whoops, let's make sure we have that locked. But it looks like a whole lot of fun. I'm hoping to play it on the holiday. But yeah, check it out. Alright, with those colours kind of blocked in, we've got a bit of a gradient. So I'm just going to add a blur to that to make it nice and smooth. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample from the darkest point of our gradient. Firstly, I'm going to pick up my hair painting brush. Oh yes, for reference, the brush I've used for everything so far in this video, you can find by going to General Brushes. This is Photoshop, by the way. Going down to the fourth option, Hard Round Pressure Size. And then in brush settings, when it loads, you want to turn on transfer, and you want to make sure the settings are thus: opacity jitter is set to 0%, the control is pen pressure, and that's set to minimum, and you want to make sure your flow jitter is all turned off and set to 0 and everything as well. And that's what I use for 99% of my painting. However, for hair, and just for hair, and sometimes fur if someone's wearing like a fur cloak or something like that, I will use this brush, which is part of a pack called the Lewin Fur Brushes, which you can totally find if you search that in Google. I believe you can purchase it on Gumroad. I think it's pay what you want. Anyway, it's totally worth grabbing and throwing some money to creators away, because it's a gorgeous brush for rendering hair, as you can see. And just generally speeds up the process whilst looking really nice and realistic. And with this dark part of the gradient, we're just going to drag it across, following the direction of the flow of the hair to add some shape and shading. And it kind of gives the impression that there are lots of separate strands without having to actually paint them. And that's usually the technique that I use when it comes to doing hair. As you can see, that's starting to build up a nice little bit of variation, and we can do the same with the lighter point of the gradient. We can use that to add highlights to other sections of the hair. So, for example, this Photoshop's throwing a wobbly today. Down here. Yeah, I'll probably play whichever house has cool boats. I like nautical houses. Alright, so with that done, I'm actually going to now choose a darker colour than the darkest part of our gradient. And with that picked out, we're going to add some more shadows to the darker areas. Simple. It's just a matter of building up the different tones really, and identifying where light can hit and where it can't, which all kind of takes time and practice, but it will come. Alright, so we've got that shape coming together. With that out of the way, I think we need to add some brighter highlights to really get that dirty blonde look across. So I'm going to take down the size of my brush a wee bit, and on the lighter parts of the hair, so facing towards the direction of the light, we can add these highlights. Oh, thank you so much, Morville. Swish, swish. Yeah, honestly, it's weird. I think the most useful things I find, Ed14, thank you so much. It's very, very kind. Thank you for the bits. The useful thing I find is if you have... Now, let's do a mini tutorial right now, shall we? Let's turn that off. Let's just paint, like... Let's say this is a strand of hair. Just this kind of rectangle cube going down. To kind of get that illusion across that you've got a multi-stranded shape here. Using this brush, what you want to do is with strokes that are, like I say earlier, they follow the shape of the hair you've got. And wherever they meet a surface or they are overlapped by another surface, that's where you want to add the shading. And in some places you can do a thin line kind of going throughout the entirety of it, just to help again get across that it's made up of lots of small parts. And I find that around the edges you tend to get a border of darker colour like so, and then you almost have an oval in the middle of where the light is. And then if we pick a lighter colour, usually I go down and get a bit smaller for doing highlights. It's almost the opposite. We're doing like a sideways eye shape here. Again with some long strands, to build up the idea that there's light bouncing off of that section in the middle of the hair. And then once again we'll go even lighter, just kind of to get this across. Photoshop, you working with me? Yes you are. And then you can, right in the center, add your bright highlights. And that's kind of a really basic quick way that I find for painting hair anyway. That's without any line art to go off of or anything, that's the vague process I use anyway, so I hope that's somewhat useful. I will now delete it. Actually, I'll leave it up. Why not? I'll leave it up till later so people can see it. Anyway, back to painting these highlights. We're gonna have that side lighting again, and I think it's important that we actually get the idea that it's slightly more pinkish light coming from that side. So I'm gonna jump up to overlines. Yeah, I'm gonna commit to going up onto that layer with a nice small brush, just working in the highlights that are purely coming from that direction. Which will have ever such a slightly different value to the ones coming from the other direction. And as you can see, we've kind of got this backlight hitting both sides. So we can do the same on the other side. I am going to take down the brightness because we've already got quite a lot of dark over here. We don't want it to stand up too much. but you tend to lose a bit of saturation at the edges of things. So that's why it's not quite as bright yellowy as some of the other bits are. Alright, and then we can go back to the more yellowy highlight for areas that are closer to the middle. Like so. What's the name of that hairbrush again? Okay, yeah, so let's go through that again. It's called the Lewin Fur Brushes set. And again, if you type that into Google, it should come up. You should be able to find it. And I'm using the very top one of the main set, which is just called Fur Pointy End. And it looks like a weird slice of pizza with the crust torn off. If I make that bigger. Yeah, it's a very cool brush, and I heartily recommend the set for getting realistic hair effects. And so there's our top knot. What I will do is, just to add a little bit more fun and detail, we're going to go back to my normal brush, jump all the way down to 4, and we're just going to add in some loose strands. Like so, just to kind of, again, it gives a bit more realism because you would get loose strands in a haircut like this. Some light kind of wispy pieces that kind of don't sit in with the rest of the hair. Like so. And there you have it. It might work in Crider. I know that obviously I downloaded the pack for Photoshop. The artist might have done packs for other software as well, so it's worth checking out. Cool. So let's tackle the beard then. So we're gonna make a new layer. I'm gonna call it hair 2. Eventually, when these are both done, they'll be merged in together anyway. Fantastic. Rebel has, like a super sleuth, found it. Thank you. Once again, using that starting color for the hair, we're just gonna smack it in and fill in all of these areas where it needs to be. And we'll do all the way around and cover the beard in this too. The beard is going to look like quite blob shaped at the moment, but similar to how you saw with hair, eventually I'll be adding lots more wispy bits on the top layer, which will go over the skin and just generally make it look a bit more organic. You just gotta schmack it in. You can be fairly rough at that point, and then when you get down to bring it to the edges, that's when you've got to be neat. Okay, so now as we go down even smaller, down to a little itty bitty 4. I'll just get these bits in. Okay, and with that in, we can start shading it. So making sure, as always, that we've got that locked. We can go to the shadow layer, well, the shadow color even. What would I consider my favorite thing to paint? Oh my goodness, now you're really quizzing me. What is my favorite thing to paint? The problem with that question, and there's no problem with it, it's a great question, is the more I paint of one thing, the more I want to paint something else. So I would say, as soon as I have a favorite, I'll paint lots of it and then be like, okay, I'm bored, I want to do something new. I get bored easily. But overall, I would say I love painting characters. I'm definitely more of a character person than an environments person. Anyone can attest to that, who vaguely knows me. In terms of characters, I adore characters that wear swishy, fancy robes and stuff like that. I love doing details such as gold trim and just fancy patterns and shapes with stuff like fancy robes and things. I find it so much fun. So this is a bit of trivia about me. Back when I was about 14, I hadn't really quite decided what I wanted to do yet. And for the longest time, I really wanted to go into theatre costume design. Designing costumes, so theatre, ballet, all that kind of stuff. Of course, it's an incredibly niche field, so I gave up on that after a while. But I love in character design where I can basically do that designing fancy, complicated clothes is always just so much fun. Oh, the hardest part of drawing. Thinking what to draw or drawing it. It depends. There are some things which I think different people struggle with at different levels. Myself, I struggle with when you're visualizing something to draw, doing complex mechanical shapes, I find a lot harder than organics. I quite like doing kind of horror style creature illustration because I'm a lot better with organic forms than I am with kind of man-made shapes and metallic entities, that kind of thing, mechs, that kind of stuff. I find harder than organic characters. It can still be a really good challenge. I've got a few Warforged in my current commission queue to work on, which will be a lot of fun. But it's definitely, I find, a little bit more challenging than a organic-based character. And that's the planning stage. When it comes to actually painting, things that I find quite challenging are, let's think, for example, painting complicated plate armor is very, very time consuming, and you need to pay really close attention to, let's go back to the fur brush. You have to pay really close attention to your reference material to make sure all the lighting makes sense. But it has some of the most satisfying results, so it's still one of the things I love to paint, even though it's really hard. Just because you get what you put into it at the end of the day. Oh, thank you so much, Rebel. As you can probably tell from this commission, I will be doing a lot of that for this guy. He gonna have some plate armor to the nines. This is where this fur brush comes in handy again when it comes to facial hair. Because it renders more like fur than it does hair. And as with all things, it's a gradual process. I'm going to take a little bit of this and a little bit more blonde down there. Oh, that's really cool. I'll have to. Oh yeah, Bernadotte Banner. Yeah, I think I'm familiar with them. I think I followed their work before because I do some costume. I still make some costumes myself, mostly for LARP and that kind of thing. But I have ended up watching quite a lot of videos on the different parts of the process. Just really trying to get across the idea that this lower section of the hair is a very different texture to the top part. I definitely like YouTubers that have that kind of soothing presence. Right, we're going to do lots of short, sharp strokes for this part of the beard because the hair is not as long as the hair up above. And we don't want to make it look too much like a plushie. Yeah, fur is really hard. I think fur, I don't usually use specialist Photoshop brushes for things. Fur is one of the few exceptions I make. Because getting that sharp, kind of proper hair look is so challenging that having a brush that helps you get that shape. Because obviously if I was doing this with a paintbrush, you could get these kind of shapes using a paintbrush by making sure it wasn't like too wet, controlling how much paint you load on the brush. It's almost easier with traditional media than it is with digital. So that's why I tend to, as I said, I sought out this particular brush set and started learning how to use it for hair and that sort of thing. Yes, we want to get that kind of almost, not quite curly, but that rougher texture of the front part of the beard there. But we're also going to need light. So... Oh, letters from the multiverse, that's very, very kind. Thank you. Now, did I do that last bit on overlines? I'm pretty sure I did. Yes, so let's go back to that layer. And start adding in a little bit of highlight detail on this layer instead. And again, lots of little short, sharp marks as we put in these layer of highlights. And then we'll do the same on this upper bit of the moustache because that's going to catch some light. As you can see. And then again, we can drag some of this light across. Whoops, that's the wrong brush entirely. And it's often easier to do at this point on the overlines layer purely because we haven't got to worry about the constraints of the line art that we've already got going. Kind of be a bit more experimental. Oh, quietly for it. Thank you so much. It is a wonderful niche to be involved with, truly. Honestly, I had no idea when I left uni that this would be what I followed. I only started playing Dungeons and Dragons in my last year of university, and a friend introduced me to it. Though I'd wanted to play for a long time, but I was very self-conscious about joining groups, as I'm sure a lot of people are when they first start D&D. But when I did, I just instantly fell in love with it. So it's really wonderful to be able to work in this industry now. Again, let's just tone down that side of the line art. Fantastic. Okay. We've got a little bit of heavy line going down here. So let's just add a bit of light in there. Yeah, that was my other thing. There was just no one who I knew was interested in D&D before university. I didn't even know that much about it until I looked into it at uni and knew I wanted to start playing. I didn't even know about actual play live streams actually until I was in my first job. I found out about the Adventure Zone because one of my friends wouldn't stop talking about it, and I was like, "This is amazing." All right, let's just add a cheeky little bit of side light down to these bottom sections. Like so. Okay, we're really getting there with this. Yeah, I've tried one-on-one D&D and it just didn't gel for me quite the way I'd hoped it would. So I always prefer like reasonable groups. Oh, good idea. Let's make sure we save. Awesome. So we can actually get rid of the palette now. However, I'm pretty sure it's now connected to some of our paintwork. So what I'm going to do instead is manually just erase the paint palette and then merge that down to overlines. Shinies. That's shinies there. What I'm actually tempted to do at this point, you can kind of see the line art layer there and what it looks like without it. So if we turn that back on, I'm going to lock the line art layer and I'm going to select a mid-colored greyish pink. And with this, I'm going to colour in the line art. Now this will make the line art a lot lighter. As you can see, it's already doing, and generally just it brings it back into the paintwork and just means that it's not quite so heavy, you know. It's a bit more natural. Awesome. So with that done, the next step is to do this little cowl we've got here. Unfortunately, I did lose some of the work I did earlier when I started on the pauldrons, which is a bit annoying, and I might just leave them a bit because I don't know if you're like this, like me, whether it's work or video games. If I get like a section done and then lose my progress, I can't immediately go and just do the same thing again. I get too bored. So I try and mix up what I'm working on if I've lost some progress. In fact, something we could do, potentially we could look at the big hammer. Lots of stuff we could look at. I'll probably stick to the soft layers for now. Anyway, let's, before we merge these two together, I'm gonna put a clipping mask on there, and we are going to just add a little bit of shadow from the top, because I want this join to be a little bit more subtle. Like so, and then I'm just going to quickly blur that out so it's nice and gentle. Aye, that's better. Nice. Okay. So I'm actually going to merge those two together now. Just make sure it's just called hair. We don't need them both. And then let's start the next bit. So we're going to make a new layer underneath the hair. I'm just going to call it soft. Because on this layer, we're not just going to do the little cowl. I might actually do these sleeves that we can see underneath the armor. Get those done. And we're basically just going to make our way through the soft layers underneath the armor, and I think do those. And then, yeah, that sounds like it'll be a working goal for now. And hello, Rio-san, and welcome to the stream. I'm just going to double check the colours this chap wears in the original commission details. So we've got a lot of kind of browns and greys coming in. Let's have a quick just double check at this link. Okay, I think we'll be going for a red. This chap seems like a rich kind of wine red maroon kind of individual. So we're just going to select that kind of colour. We can mess with this later if we want to. And we're just going to block out the areas to fill in. And then we'll just fit in that central section. Just have a quick whiz over to make sure it's all opaque as we want it to be. And then with that done, I think let's save us the pain later, and we'll just also block in the areas of this red kind of tunic underneath the armor too. Also not painting feet. Yeah, painting feet sucks. Painting feet in shoes is slightly better. Bare feet are a nightmare. But they may be a nightmare, but they're also quite good to practice. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. Locked in. We'll do the other side of the strap. I might go up to a bigger brush for this actually. Smaller brush for when we've got to do these little kind of concave areas. Oops. Hey, Renelli! You're not that late, no. We are painting a cool armored boy today. going to take that brush size right down. Whoops. Gotta be careful where you put that brush. And we will come down here and fill in these two bits, and then we'll have done this sleeve. It's true. 100% true. It is a Dwarf Fighter, I believe, who has been a lot of fun so far to paint, so. At the moment we're just kind of filling in the soft layers that he's wearing underneath the armor. It's true, trees do come at a premium. Okay, that's one side complete. Now we'll do the other. We'll start with the annoying fiddly bits, I think. Just get them out of the way. And making sure to tidy up if we go over the lines a bit too much in places. And then, oh, we need to go down here as well. Just fill that bit in. And then we can do this kind of larger area here. Start with a nice big brush, just whack some paint down. And then we'll go in with a smaller brush to do the detail. Do you know, we don't need that there because that'll be the bottom half of the belt. No more trees. And then coming up the side, avoiding going over onto the Warhammer kind of bit. Don't want to do that. But we can get away with a slightly bigger brush, I think. When Photoshop lets me. Gives you a nice close-up of all the line work though, so... R.I.P. tree. Gosh, it's been so long since I was able to do traditional art. I really enjoy oil painting, but there's just, you need space for it, you need good ventilation, or you're gonna get blown away by them fumes. One day I'll have enough space to take it up again. I'll have to relearn it all. It's a note to show the brush. Oh, can you not see it? I assumed it was coming up. No, of course it doesn't know. Oh, you can see it, can't you? I'm looking up at my Twitch and I can just about see the circle. Huh. Oh, on iPad, right. I must admit, I've tried Photoshop on iPad a couple of times. and I find it outrageously laggy. And I got like a second-hand iPad Pro, so I don't know. I kind of gave up with it. Went back to Procreate, which I find the interface a bit weird on, but you know, you gotta use what's there. Alright, so we've got that kind of tunic layer down. I'm just having a little think about what I want to do. I think what we'll do is we will do the shading for the tunic layer next. Oof, my ears are getting squished. So I'm going to make a layer clipped to the soft layer, making sure it's set to multiply. I'm going to select a kind of magenta-ish tone, kind of a greyish magenta. And then fill in that whole layer, which is just going to instantly get nice and dark. See, that's interesting, because if I hit, let's zoom in a bit. If I hit caps lock, then it becomes a crosshair. So I don't know if there is something you can enable to switch it in preferences. I know in preferences you can change it here. But yeah, that's very strange. I'm now going to make sure I've got a white color selected. And I've got a nice big brush. And then what we're going to do is, now we've put down this blanket layer of shadow, we're going to slowly remove it from areas where the light is catching. So rather than painting in where the shadows are forming, I do the opposite. I prefer to paint where light hits. I find I end up with much richer shadows this way. Is you never quite add enough if you go the other way around, I find. At least I don't. Right, so with that first level done, we're going to make sure we've got the eyedropper tool set to current layer, so that we're just selecting the level of shadow to work with. And then we can go a bit darker. Making sure to kind of follow the shape of where the material creases are. Not like what I just did. Like so. Go a bit smaller to get in those little areas where the dark really would be hanging out. Okay, do a little bit of blending as well, just to soften the shapes. Haha, he's got a good man bun. Thank you so much, Rebel, for stopping by. I look forward to seeing you next time. Alright. Gosh, I'm so hungry. Cool. So with that done, I think the next thing I want to do is add some highlights to this fabric. So going back down to that bottom layer where the fabric is. Now this chap is kind of royal. So I kind of want to select a lighter colour from the more fuchsia purple side of things. Thank you so much, by the way, to Shiny Pirate, Potato Man 54 and The Last Chocobo for following. I hope you enjoyed the stream. But yes, with a small brush and this lighter colour selected, we can gently work in and add fabric highlights. Again, these do the same kind of eye shape thing that I said about earlier, where the top and the bottom lines are the longest, and then it starts to pinch in at the middle. At least this is a personal preference for the way I shade this kind of thing. It's absolutely not necessarily the right way, it's just what works for me. And then what I might do is add some grayer ones where we're getting the side light, which is going to be less saturated. Whoops. Making sure that we do actually have the alpha channel locked, please. And you get this nice rich, almost satiny effect. I'm not going to push it too far satiny, because we don't want it. I mean, that you don't really wear satin under your plate armor. And this is from someone who LARPs, so I can tell you it's not comfortable. But yeah, so that's where we'll leave that. Oh, thank you so much to Letherial and Shiny Pirate. Thank you for stopping by, Letherial. It's lovely to have you in chat, as always. And thank you to Shiny Pirate. I'm pleased you enjoy my art station. This is probably as good a time as any to shove some links in chat, I suppose. Starting with the aforementioned art station. This is... How much RAM am I running on? I think this PC currently has 8 gigabytes. I do plan to double that soon once I've saved up enough. We're getting there. Yeah, Gambesons are wonderful. I really want one. I think everyone should own a Gambeson. But yeah, so that's my art station. That has all my finished pieces, what I consider to be my better pieces, so do please check that out. Yeah, this is why I need 16. This is what I'm saving up for. Yeah, basically. Next up is my Twitter. This is where I'll probably be uploading most of my finished pieces, so check that out. Updates about streams, all that kind of stuff's on Twitter. And Instagram. If you don't like Twitter, use Instagram. I also have an account there. I'll do the other ones later at the end of the stream. Cool, so we're going to apply that same technique we've just used for the soft bit around the collar to the other parts of the costume. So going back to that multiply layer, we're going to go up to a white color. And yeah, Aran Ali, that's, you can see why I don't have ridiculously huge canvases now. Alright, so we're just going to... just add in these highlights where the light's going to be hitting. Oh, thank you so much for the sub gift from Quietly Freya. It's incredibly kind. And again, I tend to form these highlights of lots of short, sharp lines and shapes rather than kind of blobbing them in there. Because fabric has like a weave to it and usually has like a grain, a bit like wood. And if you can follow that with the way you paint your lights and shadows, I find it makes fabric a bit more convincing. Alright, so that's some of that stage. I'm just going to eyedrop in between the gradients and use that to do a bit of blending here and there. Yeah, my canvases never really go above 4K width-wise, because then my computer complains. I mean, that's a tough choice, not gonna lie. If I was in a position to have to make that choice, I don't know what I'd pick. But I figure the computer leads to a puppy, so... Oh, thank you so much. And I have to pronounce this. Tsilyi? Is that how you prefer it to be pronounced? But thank you so much again for passing on the sub gifts. You're all wonderful. Just gonna add that extra shadow. And with that in on that side, we can do the same on the other side. Making sure to remember that shadows are going to be caused by some of this armor as well, so it's not just the fabric folds we need to worry about. Fantastic, and now we can drop back down to that soft layer. I drop that lighter colour that we picked earlier, go down to a smaller brush and use that in areas where we're going to get those extra highlights. Once again, kind of following the shape of the folds and the grain of the fabric. I suppose I should say weave. This isn't woodworking class. Do I play D&D? Yes, I do. I'm playing in 2 D&D campaigns at the moment, and I'm about to start running one as DM later this month, starting November. Planning to run Rhymer the Frost Maiden that I've been asked to do by some Empire Lot buddies, so that's gonna be really good fun. Just gonna take off a little bit of the shadow at the back, just so we get that side lighting coming in. Like so, and we have shaded this underlayer. So let's do another save before we lose everything. What do I normally charge to draw someone's character? My price list is on, oh, let's drop it in. You can find it on my Patreon, which should be open for anyone to view. Did that not work? Is it just taking a while? Did I spell it wrong? Huh. That's how you spell Patreon. Usually it works. Let's try again. Why isn't the link working? Oh, I don't know. I'll just find it manually next time. Let's do that now. So this post should be open for everyone to look at because I made it public. This has my current prices on. They're also on my Twitter actually. If you scroll down a little bit. Whoops, let's not drop things. But yes, there you can find prices and that kind of thing. Alright, so with that layer done, we kind of see what happens if we take that shadow layer off. I want to do a little bit more before we round off for today, so I think the last bit I'm going to do is these nice buckles on the arm because they look like fun. For those, we're going to start with a really dark brown. I think we'll go for nice kind of silvery buckles for those, I think. Oh yeah, the flat shaded portraits are really fun to do, and they're also really useful for me to do because I usually end up slotting them in or doing several in one day, so they allow me to kind of break things down a bit. Don't know if anyone else has a brain that works the way mine does, but I find it a lot easier to start a small task than a massive one. So if I've finished a bigger commission in a day, I prefer to work on the flat shaded commissions afterwards, if that makes sense. Oof. That's a big oof. Yeah, London is expensive. That's why I don't go there. Actually, we might as well do these lower arm buckles as well while we're here, huh? Okay, that one, and then just this one, and then we will shade those. Yeah, so I live in Bristol, which in some ways is like baby London. It's pretty expensive to live here, but it's still nothing compared to London, which is bonkers. Right, now we've made sure those alpha channels are locked. We can go ahead and add some shadows. So, remembering that it's going to be shaded by the armor plates above that it tucks into. You can just gently add the shadows around where the buckle's going to kind of cause some shadow there. And then we'll do the same with the others. Yeah, same place as the Yogscast. It's funny actually, I meet up with, I end up seeing some of the Yogscast people at Empire Lot, because a lot of them go to that, which is always really fun. Thank you so much, Righteous Gambit, for stopping by. I hope you have a lovely afternoon. No, I haven't actually played Deus Ex. I am pretty picky about video games just because I don't have a metric ton of time to play them, and I'm really bad at finishing things. I've heard a lot of good things about Deus Ex, but I've never really tried it. I'm currently playing a lot of Destiny. That's kind of like my main AAA game that I play, which is having a really cool update at the end of this month, start of November. Alright, now we've got the shading done for these straps, we can do some highlighting. We're going to pick a lighter brown, go back up to that overlines layer, and we're going to select a smaller brush. I think a 12 will do nicely. And just where the light's going to hit, that's where we're going to put our highlights. Which is fairly self-explanatory, really. Make sure we'll go on all layers so we can get that kind of gradual change. Let's pick the lightest colour again, and then we can move to the next one. That's a loud car coming past. And then we can add some proper light highlights. Goodness gracious me. It's not even that massive a canvas. I don't know why Photoshop's throwing such a wobbly. Highlights are one of my favourite things to do, that's for sure. Oh, I do? That's good to know, I share that name. I'm not used to seeing many protagonists with my name actually, which is weird because I have a pretty common name. Alright, last one. Then we can do the buckles. Okay, so belt buckles. Going back down to the original there we were on, we're going to want to. Let's actually, yeah, that sounds like a good starting point. Select a dark grey. In this case, I'm making them quite a warm grey, and then just gonna want to paint that down. It's only on these two, I think. Now that's down, we'll go back up, in fact going up to the shinies finally, because we're adding the cool metal highlights, which is one of my favourite things to do. I love doing metal highlights. So we're going to go down to a 6. And we're going to start adding these lights. And the same on the other side. And then we can jump up to a much lighter shade for like the final bright points of light. Like so. And you kind of see when you zoom out, it really kind of takes effect. And then on the other one, we zoom out, you can see we've got those nice kind of straps in place. So we're just going to save again. And I think that's a good place to leave it for this afternoon. We've got quite a lot done. I'll probably have this character finished fairly soon, upload. I've got quite a few at the moment that are almost done. I just need to add finishing touches too. But those finishing touches were less interesting to do on stream, which is why I kind of jumped between commissions a little bit at the moment. But for now, thank you all so very, very much for joining me today. Let's throw some links in chat. First of all, Twitter. It is working now. Check out my Twitter when you want to, if you want to see this finished piece. That's probably where it will be, along with Instagram. Likewise, I put finished pieces on that as well. Thirdly, ArtStation. That's kind of just purely my portfolio. If you want to see that, check out my ArtStation. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, let's hope it works this time. Wonderful. Patreon. You can check that out, and if you want to throw some support my way and support kind of the work that I do, Patreon's the best way to do that. There are various tiers of rewards, such as works in progress, bonus paintings I haven't uploaded anywhere else, as well as things like commission priority when I open commissions, and various other kind of little rewards on there. But yes, lastly, but certainly not leastly, I think I said that before, but ignore me. The music I've used for this stream and all my other streams so far is by a wonderful artist called Kai Engel. You can find their work on the free music archive as well as Spotify, so do check that out. It's wonderful ambient stuff and perfect for streaming and D&D because it's royalty free as well. Alright, so without further ado, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Just to reiterate, there won't be any streaming next week because I'm on holiday from Monday till Friday. Please stick with me. I will be back in 2 weeks, a week on Wednesday, same time, that's 5 p.m. UK time. And in the meantime, keep an eye out. I plan to be launching YouTube this weekend, which will have both the VODs from this week if you want to catch up and see what I've been working on. That'll be the best place to do it. So until next time, stay safe, stay snug, and I will see you all very soon. Goodbye until then.